most common question I get, Sam, especially for a veteran business owner, they've been around 5, 10, 8, 20, 25 years, and they'll say, at some point they'll say like, when does it get easy? Like, when does it, like, I've been doing this a while. Like, when does it? And I said, oh, you're looking for a date. I got that. And they're like, oh, good. And I'll say,
Are you an entrepreneur building wealth while designing freedom? Welcome to Hunt for Success, the podcast where business, lifestyle, and the pursuit of a life well lived come together. Each week, Dr. Sam McGough sits down with founders, operators, and high performers to explore the principles, discipline, and decisions that create real success in business and in life. From the boardroom to the backcountry, these are conversations about building wealth, earning freedom, and designing a life worth hunting for.
Thanks, everybody, for coming back. Here's another episode of the Hunt for Success. Today, we have a good friend of mine, Carl Gould. I say that right. Is I saying it right? Gould?
Gould, yep. You got it.
Business expert, growth expert. Little did we know, fisherman and a long history of fishing in his family. So today we're going to talk about some things that can help people, business owners, and also this history. You had a landscaping company. You did a bunch of different things, and now you've written several books, and you helped a lot of entrepreneurs, including myself. We've talked a lot about things that you can do to help make your business stronger and grow. Help people sell their businesses with mergers and acquisitions. So you've had a long journey, and you kind of keep going up the chain. So that's really incredible. So Carl Gould, everybody. So Carl, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, give me a little bit more of a snap. I know that I'm just kind of taking a snapshot. Tell me how it all started.
Well, for me, my entrepreneur journey started in college. I was going to school for accounting and finance, and I broke my leg pretty badly in my second year, and I had to leave school. I was paying my own way, and I couldn't afford to stay at school. So, I was only 18 and a half years old, and I had to find my way. So I started my landscaping company, and I had done that all through high school, and so I know it pretty well. So I opened a design build landscaping firm, and I enrolled in college to take horticulture for my horticulture degree, and I took the courses I needed for that. Surveying. My Latin is pretty good still, actually. My plant identification skills, I could speak Latin. So it's only has one use, and that's when you go to a garden center, but I could use it. Anyway, I started that business, grew that company and sold it. And then I started a custom home building and real estate development firm. I was building log homes, post and beam homes, modular construction, stick frame construction, and I was doing residential and commercial at the time. And then grew that business, and I sold that. The business I have today is 7 Stage Advisors, but it started in 1990, and I was coaching with Tony Robbins and Stephen Covey and Ken Blanchard and these other companies, Dale Carnegie Leadership. I had all those certifications, DISC, NLP, all that sort of thing. And I was an individual coach throughout the 90s, and then I started the business that I have today in 2002, which is 7 Stage Advisors. So,
wow.
Yeah, I was one of those very early 6-figure coaches and 7-figure coaches. And, that was my early, I was one of the early kind of pioneers, if you will, in the coaching space.
Yeah. So growing your business, that's where you learned these skills? Like, did you read those books, take those courses, and then you developed into the coach after that?
Yeah, at the time that I became a coach, it really wasn't an industry.
Yeah.
And what you did back then was there was a series of certifications that you would take, and that's what I did. I took every certification you could possibly take, and at the same time, I was still doing my regular business at the time. So
yeah,
I had my construction company. I was a licensed real estate agent, licensed in insurance. A licensed building inspector. Like, I got all the relevant certifications and education that would help me in my building business. So I was very much a fan of, adult education and ongoing certification and continuing education. So that's how I did that. And there weren't the same credentialing processes then as there are now. There's more now, it's better. But I got trained through International Coach Federation and the International Association of Coaches and,
Yeah.
Coach U and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. When did you come up with your framework you talk a lot about now? Did that develop over the years or?
Yeah. So I was early on in coaching, the main psychometric or behavioral analysis or assessment was called DISC, the DISC
Yeah.
assessment, and everyone's heard it in some form
Yeah.
or in another one now, predictive
Yeah.
index, and there's a number of other versions that
Yeah.
other versions that are out there. Most of the assessments that are based on DISC theory.
Yeah.
Are the four temperaments, the four humors, the four behavioral styles. Well, there I am. I used to, with every coaching client that I got in the early days, they'd get a DISC assessment. I remember doing the paper version before it was computer.
I did too. I've done that a long time ago. I did, yeah.
Yeah, right. Like fill in the box and then draw the lines.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was coaching a $200,000 a year small business owner, and I was at the same time coaching an executive from a Fortune 500 company. And I did their DISC assessment analysis, and they had strengths and weaknesses and blind spots and all. And then I said, well, tell me about your business. And they told me about the business and how it was strong in this area. It was weak in that area. And it seemed to correspond wherever the owner was strong, the business was strong, wherever the owner had a blind spot, that the business was underperforming. And I was like, whoa, there's something here. And so what I did was I wrote an assessment for the business as if it were a person. So I took the four behavioral quadrants and I said, what are the four functions of a business? Strategy, business development, operations, and finance. And it corresponded. One of my clients that, was very operations focused. So his business was operationally sound. He was not very personable as an individual, admittedly. And so sales and marketing were a big problem for him. All right. The other one was very detail oriented, not very people oriented. Well, guess what? The details in his business, you could eat off the floor, but he couldn't sell his way out of a paper bag. Another one, they're very personable and outgoing, and they're great at sales and marketing. Ton of clients, but losing money, not profitable. The back of the house is in disarray. And so what I found was that the personality of a business will mirror the personality of its owner.
Yeah.
So I've tested that out now for 36 years, and it seems to be the case. If I meet, it's only two questions I need. If I ask a business owner two questions, I can understand where their primary style is and where their blind spot is, and what is the corresponding business strength and corresponding business blind spot. So within two questions, I can analyze somebody's business, and I can drive 10 to 30% revenue growth within that sector of the business within a year, because that's what's hiding out in the blind spot of a business owner.
You just like, it's like something just blew up in my mind when you said that, because it makes a lot of sense. I've seen that a lot in business. I had a mentor that was an M&A mentor that and he said he said it very crudely, because he was talking about acquiring business. And he goes, if the business owner his personal life is a train wreck, his business will be a train wreck. And I thought about that in the forms of this. I've looked at businesses, but I've never thought about it the way you just said that, because like we all do have our strengths and weaknesses, and it makes a lot of sense of thinking how our business would mirror that. And wow, man, you opened my eyes there. That's awesome. When you've coached thousands of people, and I mean, matter of fact, you've trained thousands of coaches. Where do you see most people get stuck at? What is their, I imagine there's probably revenue, people get stuck at, and then also like they get stuck at a certain point of growth, whether it's scale or whatever. What do you see the biggest thing? Or is it just that where you're talking about? Like the biggest thing is they can't handle the details, or they can't handle the people or something like that.
Right. Yeah, those become inhibitors over time for sure. But in the beginning, it's almost always the first and biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make when they launch their business is in their pricing strategy. They
Really?
think, well, to get market share, to get off the ground, to get things going, I need to discount my prices, right? Well, nobody knows it's your first day except for you. You're the reason why your customers know your news because you told them.
Yeah.
I'm just getting started, established 2026. Like, you don't have to say that, and especially now that we live in the digital world, people think because we're in our own businesses and we're always talking about it, we think the whole world knows about us. We don't want to be overexposed. Nobody knows who you are. They don't.
Yeah.
So advertise like it's year 5, not like it's year 1.
Yeah.
And
That's fun.
advertise. Yeah. Your business might be around, might be new, but you're not new at this. If Oprah Winfrey launched a mentoring program, she would not discount her way to market share.
Right.
She'd be like, I've just not been available to the market in this way but I'm making myself available in a way I've never had before. If you want in, here's the application process. It's not going to be for everybody. It's not going to be cheap, but here it is.
So you like that more of like people have to apply to, like to the business, or maybe you're putting that out there, like we don't accept every person. Is that kind of like the model you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's dangerous when a company tries to be all inclusive when they're not. There's only
Yeah.
a few companies that can get away with it, right? And you have to be an incredibly high volume company. Like, I'm talking Google, Walmart,
Yeah.
Target, and even those companies have challenges, right? Because when you when you want everybody, you get everything that comes with it. And the one thing you don't get is loyalty, right? You're getting all the values,
Yeah.
not just the chosen values. So think about it. Think about your favorite musical act
Yeah.
that you like, your favorite singer. If they put out a bad album or a bad song, you're not swearing off that I'm never listening to them again. You
Yeah.
might not like that song, but you're like, oh, I didn't like that so much, but I'll still go to the concert. I'll still buy the album. I'll still download the song. I'll still, listen to the podcast or subscribe to this or whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to give them a pass because you share the values. You share in that community. There's a shared goal of experiencing that music, right? But
Yeah.
if you were just invited to a festival and you didn't really care about the music, and you walked in, you didn't hear what you liked, you just leave.
Yeah.
You go to the concert of your favorite artist, and the first song isn't the first song you thought, you're still going to stay.
Yeah.
You'll still buy a beer, you still get something to eat, you'll still do your thing and hang. But if you walk into a festival, like, what's this festival? I don't know, a bunch of bands. You walk in, not for me, and you'll leave.
Yeah.
No loyalty there. So I encourage businesses to decide who is their audience, speak directly to that audience. You're not turning people away necessarily, but you're focusing on who your audience is. And if somebody's willing to change their behavior in order to work for you or work with you,
Mhm.
that's fine. That's okay. The US Open does not have to only get tennis fans through the door. However, if you want to come to their event, you have to follow their rules. And as long as you're willing to do that, they're happy to have you. Right.
How transformative is that? That is, we did something similar years back with our medical clinic, and it's pretty transformative. And when I think about like where I accepted only had criteria, like you have to meet these criteria before I'll take you on, in the clinic. And it was like, you got rid of a lot of noise. It was like this,
right.
it was amazing. And I coach some of our employees on this, is like, these are the people we want. And, and they'll be like, oh, here's the problem. Like, those problems kind of tend to go away. Those certain, if we only focus on these, and then I would rather, like, from the get-go, turn this person away and go, this is not the right place for you. Here's some options, And so, I mean, I know you've coached people. How big is that for the business? What kind of changes do you see?
What will happen is your clientele will be more loyal to the brand, will stay longer, and spend more.
Yeah.
And the customer is relying on you, the business owner, to vet and make sure that you are protecting who the client base is. So
Mhm.
I recently joined Planet Fitness Gym, and it's a good example because everywhere in there it says no judgment. You
Mhm.
know, we don't judge. And then they have that big sign on the wall that says, that kind of makes fun of the person who would slam the weights, grunt a lot, and make a lot of noise. And they've got this like, it's like a lunk alarm or something like that. I've never seen it go off, but they set up their gym for the average casual, exerciser athlete. It's
Yeah.
not made for the high intense athlete. And it doesn't mean that person couldn't come in, but it's for the
Yeah.
person who does circuit training and cardio and light weights and all this stuff. And that works for them. If you're a
Yeah.
power lifter, if you're a performance athlete, you could go there, but it's not made for you.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
got to go to a CrossFit gym, or you got to go to a personal training studio or a powerlifting gym. I mean, if you go there, like I like to do free weights, there's no free weights there. I'm like, I have free weights. I'm like,
Yeah.
this isn't. So I'm on the edge of what would be their clientele. I like it
Yeah.
because they have locations that are
I was
very,
like,
very
you travel a lot. I know that's why you
everywhere.
like it. Yeah.
Love it. But it's really not the perfect gym for me. So what I do is I adhere to their rules.
Mhm.
I mold myself to them when I go there.
Yeah.
They don't put the bags in the corner and you've got everything's in a lot. I mean, there's a certain way they like to do things, and I'm happy to follow their rules because I feel like a guest there. It doesn't feel like even though I'm a member, don't feel like my home gym because it's not
Yeah.
how I really like to work out. But they're happy to take me as long as I follow their rules. Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Now, when you're in your books and you talk about hyper growth and seasons of a business, can I expand a little bit on that and talk about those things?
yeah. So hypergrowth is just the definition that Harvard uses is 20% year over year growth for an extended period of time,
Yeah.
2 or more years in a row, consecutive years of 20%. You're in hypergrowth mode when you do that. Now, seasons of business, the seasons are really interesting. There was a great book called The Fourth Turning, written by Strauss and Howe. A great book written in 1997, but the research holds true. And it is the 500-year research study of how our society goes through cycles. And if you go back 500 years, the Western society, and there are essentially 4 seasons. They come in 20 to 25-year seasons. A seculum, as they call it, is 80 to 100 years long. And just like seasons of weather, you have spring, summer, fall, and winter. And 1946 to 64 was spring. Baby boomers were born then. 65 to 85 was summer. A lot of, think of all the revolution, think of, fuel shortages and high inflation and all that. 85 through 2005 is always the harvest. That's fall. That's when the stock market went crazy, but you have a lot of volatility. But for the most part, it's a hockey stick growth in value. And then 2005 to 2029 ish is winter. And we're in winter right now. And that's the big correction, and
Yeah.
every 80 years, there's usually a world conflict. So between COVID and everything that else is going
Yeah.
on, easy to see how we would be in winter right now. But
Right.
what's really interesting about it is the business implications.
Right.
People buy very, very specifically in each of these 4 seasons. And during winter, in the most volatile of times, purchasers defer to experts, right? Because times are volatile. And they say, listen, I got one chance with my money. Where do I put my money? What do I do? And so if you're an expert, people will actually be willing to pay you more for your products and services because you're an expert.
Yeah.
Now, in fall, the economy is moving so quickly, people say, save me time, make it convenient. And so if you just discounted, that's the way to go. So you wanted to be in the middle in your pricing. And that's a very fall strategy. But in winter, you don't want to be in the middle. Middle means invisible. You want to be at the top or the bottom. You would either want to be the lowest price, Walmart, Google, right? Or you want to
Yeah.
be at the top. and you're thought of as an expert when you're up here or down here. If you're in the middle, you're invisible. And so as a business, you need to recognize that. Which one do you want to be? It's okay to be either. Subaru has the longest track record of increasing sales every year because there is probably not a car company that understands their clientele as good as Subaru understands theirs. They're not good. They are brilliant as it comes to understanding their clientele. Just brilliant, right? Lamborghini, Ferrari are equally as brilliant. You've never seen a Ferrari commercial. You've never seen a Lamborghini commercial. Yet those brands are doing fine.
Yeah.
Right? They know their clientele.
Yeah.
Right? And they protect their brand accordingly. So those are just a couple of car examples, but if you know your client and you say, we hear what's important to you, I'm going to give you what's important to you, you not only will keep that client for longer, and as a brand, you say no to people that don't want to comply with your rules. Like Ferrari, you're not allowed to modify a Ferrari, or they won't sell you another one.
Exactly.
Right. So who is it? Justin Bieber or somebody bought one and modified it? Like, so sorry, you're not buying another. We're not selling you another one.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's who they say no to protects their clientele. Yeah. So their clientele is like, excellent, thank you. The brand is bigger than any one person.
They'll also buy a car they don't want to get the next car. They'll spend a lot of money on a car. Like we can offer you this car. Like, I don't really want that car, but I got to take it because that's the only way to get to the next car.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now no one's going to sell Justin Bieber their used one because they'll get back to them.
Yeah.
Well, and if they ever want a Ferrari again, you don't sell it because they'll trace it back. Who owned it? Where did it go? And if that car was in your name before it was in Justin Bieber's name, you're not getting another one. Right. And so smart. It's clever. Now that wouldn't work with other types of clientele.
Exactly. Yeah.
That just wouldn't work for them. But with this clientele who buys exclusivity, not just a car, right? They want you to say no to others. That makes them feel better that you're protecting the brand and their experience.
I'm a watch guy. See, Patek Philippe's the same way. They do the same thing. They're really particular about who they sell to and what you can buy, when you can buy it, and how so. And then if you modify it and do things, the authorized dealers they'll just take you off the list. So.
Yeah, Costco's another example. So I'll use a non-car example. Costco is a good example in that their model is basically you have a membership, and then everything inside the building is our cost plus 15%. That's it. And where Costco gets it right is now and again, they'll get a product in that's in very high demand that they could charge more than 15% and people would buy it. But Costco resists that temptation. And by doing that, they protect their customer base who says, you made a promise to us. We will buy your membership and we'll stay your members as long as you keep your promise. I'll keep mine. You keep yours. And so that does mean that at times Costco is like, oh, we've got this great deal. We could double. We can mark this up double. But they don't because they protect their clientele. And their clientele says, if you respect that promise, we'll stay as members.
Yeah. Like about it's kind of switching gears about like the external portion of the business, the internal portion. Their employees love them. They love Costco. They take care of their employees really well. And I think there's a big part of that in your business that sometimes people don't take care of too.
Right.
So
and they are very clear they're not for everybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants all the brands that are in there. They're like, that's totally cool. You want luxury brands, you want exclusivity, you want something no one else can get their hands on. That's great. That's not us.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to be it.
Love Costco. Love Costco.
Yeah. They didn't go out and buy a bunch of Lamborghinis from Lamborghini and say, we just put a 15% markup on it. Come get them. They don't do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's certain things you're not going to buy there, and they are okay with that. So this is what a few years ago, John Deere, Pepsi-Cola, Bud Light, they all tried to be everything to everyone, and it really hurt their brand. The NBA, the National Basketball Association, did the same thing. They got political, right? And forget what the politics were. It doesn't even matter. The second they got political, it hurt their ratings. The NFL learned the same thing. Look, guys, we're here to watch your game, to escape that stuff, not to get another taste of it. And as soon as, and these leagues learn the hard way, you try to be everything to all. No, just be the sport. That's what we want you to be. Just be the sport.
So when you're coaching businesses, do you help them figure out who their base is or who their customer base is, or do they have to pick it, or does the market pick it? How does that work?
Yeah, so we do a lot of ideal client avatar work. What we like for them, if they are a business to business or B2B, we'll say, okay, what kind of business are you selling to? And then who is the person within that business that makes the decision? Not necessarily who writes the check, because that could just be the bookkeeper, but who is in the business that decides that you get hired. For example, in my business, I said to one of my team members, we need a CRM. I said, since you're going to use it every day, you pick. I'm never going to use it. You're going to use it. So you research and pick it. I paid for it. So I'm the customer, but I'm not the client. The client is my team member. I've never logged into our CRM. Don't even know how to do it. Right. But our team is in it every day. And so I remember when we chose it, I said, well, tell me about the CRMs. And they said, well, we've narrowed it down to these three. And they chose Zoho. And I said, oh, interesting. Why'd you choose Zoho? And they said, well, because they have the best customer service. And I said, okay. And they said, that's important to us because if we have a question, we want to know that we can call somebody and get a response and we'll back up right away. That is really important to us. And so that's why we went with them. Oh, by the way, they're not the cheapest. And I thought, I'm like, interesting. So Zoho did a really good job of understanding what my team's top needs were, selling to those needs. And there's my team coming back to me, not that it was a fight, but advocating for Zoho. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, they're more, but here's why they're worth more. I'm like, great job, Zoho, explaining and selling to the needs of my team. So, so they are the influencer in my company. They're the client because they're the user. I'm the customer because I'm paying. So if you're a B2B solution, know who your client is within the company and who's your advocate. Make sure that they're comfortable. Yeah. If you're B2C, meaning you sell directly to the consumer, then understand who that person is and understand who they are, their demographics, their psychographics. What are the last 10 books they read? What do they like to do in their free time? You know, who are they? How old are they? You know, gender, race, ethnicity, income level, you know, where do they live? Do they own? Do they rent? Do they drive a car or take mass transportation? We need to know all these things so we can understand and get inside their world.
Does businesses evolve and those avatars change?
They can, but they don't change that much. You know, there are a couple of companies. There are a couple of companies that will sell to multiple avatars, like an airline has multiple avatars on the same plane.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know, they've got to sell one class of seats to one group, another class of seats to another group. They don't have just a first class plane, an economy plus plane, and an economy plane. They got one plane. They got to put everybody on.
Yeah.
You know? So sports teams are, you know, I've got one stadium for the same game. I have to put everybody in it.
Yeah.
To sell the multiple avatars over time. Now you can, if you take like, if you're a brand that's evolving, for example, like you take NFL football, they have catered to a more corporate clientele. All the professional sports leagues have, World Cup, you name it. So they have added avatars over time, you know, and by doing that, it's a little bit of a brand extension. So you have to be careful about that, not to lose your core. But you can add avatars over time. It's not that it's not common, but it's not always the needle driver.
Yeah.
You know,
we messed up with that before where we had too many avatars. You know, you can get unfocused as a business for sure. Yeah. And then we find that we have 1 to 2 different avatars. You can get hyper focused on your marketing, get hyper focused on, who your operations even become a lot smoother. So, yeah, I just wonder where that. So you wrote a book called Biz Dev Done Right and become a #1 bestseller. Where do you see like the big gap? Because I think that business development is always, it's like a kind of a buzzword sometimes.
Yeah.
I had a guy that I remember there said, do business development. Like you're actually not doing business development. You're doing this. This is what that does. But where do you see business owners get stuck at, and where do you see that their biggest, like kind of like blind spots on business development is?
Yeah. So especially in the earlier stages, early to mid stages of the growth of a business, what the problem that some clients get themselves caught into is this feast and famine cycle.
Mhm.
So they say, wow, we're slow. We should go get some business. So they go out and they do all this lead generation, then they do their sales. Now they have these clients to serve. And they're like, wow, we have to get involved in delivery and fulfillment. So they put their focus there. Meanwhile, sales and marketing efforts go down. They're in fulfillment. Now they're like, wow, we fulfilled that. Boy, that was great. Now we need more clients. Wait a minute, we haven't been doing lead gen for a while. So they get back out there, they do lead gen. So fulfillment goes down, lead gen goes up, and then they get on this hamster wheel, right? What they really need to do is you need to decide where you want to be as a business and find out what your funnel is. If I need 10 clients or 10 customers a day or 10 sales a day, whatever the number is, how many people do I have to reach? How many people have to see my pricing? How many people will get a proposal or do a demo or have to try something on or go to the fitting rooms? And then how many people ultimately buy? And you have to decide that level of activity and keep it the same forever. It never stops. Most common question I get, Sam, especially for a veteran business owner, they've been around 5, 10, 8, 20, 25 years, and they'll say, some point they'll say like, when does it get easy? Like, when does it, like, I've been doing this a while. Like, when does it? And I said, oh, you're looking for a date. I got that. And they're like, oh, good. And I'll say, never. It never.
Yeah.
What? I said, why? Why would it? What have you earned? What have you have to earn? Business is a merit-based activity, which is beautiful. The problem is you always have to be earning it.
Yeah.
Always.
Always.
You always have to earn the trust. You always have to be out there selling. You always have to be out there marketing. You always have to be out there meeting the changing needs of your clients and your prospects. So it's never going to get easier. You just have to get better.
Funny story. I sleep better when things are going wrong than when they're going right. And when everything is going right in business, I'm a nervous wreck because I'm thinking, when's the next hammer about to fall, or when's the next thing going to go wrong? And
Sure.
so, it's just kind of the same thing you're talking about, because like it never gets easy. There's periods of time, I think, where I've had in my businesses where things are going well. Things are moving. Right now is one of the times where I come in and go like, look for something to do, and there's nothing to do. But that's when I don't sleep the best, because I'm thinking, what am I missing, or what am I not seeing that's about to happen? How do you get when you're coaching these guys? I know you've coached people from like the small business to huge, big businesses. Where do you, think about the business owner getting when it gets easier, but where do you kind of like help people kind of like, and that what you were saying was doing that, but like, help them kind of get ahead of those things, because I think that's a big problem with, I talk to a lot of business owners, of course, in this and where we've met or where, and, it's always feast, like you said, feast or famine, or, a dumpster fire is happening, or everything looks smooth. And, how do you help your clients kind of, go through those phases?
Yeah. So we've interviewed and we've done assessments on businesses since 1990. We have over 300,000 data points on the clients that we've worked with. And now most of our businesses that we work with are 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
which are in the top 4% of all businesses. And the number one area that they've struggled statistically over the years is they don't have a plan. They don't have a strategic plan. And so they're probably really good at what they do, or very conscientious or both. They hustle, they meet the needs of their clients. Their clients are very happy with them, but they don't have a plan for the next step. They don't ask what's next. Whatever was the fundamental motivation for starting the business, they've outgrown or they've hit that ceiling. And now they're like, all right, well, what do we do next? And so what we do is I wrote a book called The 7 Stages of Business Success. And it's the 7 developmental stages of a business. Each one of them has its own need, should have its own plan, have its own goals. And you focus in different ways in each of the stages. So for example, an easy one is stages 1 through 3 are the growth stages. Growth is just, let's do more of what we're doing right now. We're growing. Okay. We did this one time. We have one customer. Let's do it 10 times. You get 10 customers. All right, fine. That's just growing, right? Scaling is different. Stages 4 through 7 is scaling. Scaling, you are going internal and you're turning the fulfillment engine of the business into a machine. It's an assembly line. You are building an assembly line, doesn't matter what your business is. Oh, wait a minute. I'm a lawyer. Every case is different. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're all similar. I'm a doctor. Every patient's different. Yeah, kind of, but not really. There's still a process. There's still a process, no matter what. Yes, the content within each step might be different, but the process is usually the same. So you are building an assembly line. Once you do that, you can scale on top of that assembly line. And so where people get stuck is they have an idea for their business and they're growing. Then they hit the ceiling. And a lot of times it's just their business model is inhibiting their growth. So here's a perfect example. I had a landscaping company. I had a dump truck that would hold 10,000 pounds. And I would roll into the service station where I used to fill up and park the trucks with 15,000 pounds worth of stuff in. And the guy, Sal and Vinny would fuel up the truck and be like, oh, that's a New Jersey term, by the way. Every other state, you fill up your own truck. In New Jersey, they pump the gas. So they come and they fill it up, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, still in New Jersey. Still
today? Oh, wow.
Yeah, right on. All the reasons you were thinking of moving here, that's the next reason why you got to move here. Anyway, so they come out and they're filling up the truck. And they're like, you're killing this thing. You're overloading this truck. It's going to break down. And I'm like, we can make it. Right? And he's like, you need a bigger truck. You're carrying too much in this. And that's what happens in businesses. You have a certain software and you have certain systems and you have certain people and you get too busy and you overload the system. You need a bigger truck to carry everything. In other words, you need scalable systems. You can't just piece together your Outlook email with your Gmail, with your cell phone. Those are good in the beginning. And then you can give everyone else a cell phone and everyone else a Gmail and hey, go on WhatsApp. But at some point you need enterprise level systems that, because everyone's siloed out and you have a bunch of generalists and you get to a point where you need specialists in each area of the business. And so you have to make that leap in infrastructure, specialization, and platform, your softwares.
Right. That's funny because I was just thinking when you were talking about that is those things, you need those things before you can afford them almost always. Like you kind of, as you go as in business, it was always like you kind of need it. You kind of have to, that's a big part of being a business person is, and being a founder and owner is like, you always are. That's where they talk about reinvesting or doing those things. But it's like and how many times do you think you've seen, or how many times out there where the business that stays stagnant just don't do those next steps? I've seen it a lot where businesses like literally stay small because they just don't want to do those things.
Yeah, the most celebrity example of this, well, there's a few, but Kodak had digital camera technology. They invented it, right? But they like, wait a minute, we're in the paper business, and Sony took it and was like, okay, you don't want it, we'll take it from you. And BlackBerry phones did the same thing. They thought the whole world wanted security and privacy, and as much as people complain about it, we really don't care that much. Just don't steal our stuff, and you can have it.
It took me a couple of years to get over that.
I know, right? I get more information to a social media platform than I do when I apply for a loan. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do you like? I've never applied for a loan or a mortgage where like, what do you like to do on the weekends? What's your sign? You know,
Never thought that's funny.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, here's what I like to do. You know, on
Yeah.
social media, I give you my whole damn life. You know, so yeah, you can. Those are the big examples, and you know, BlackBerry never embraced the app world, and it blew right past them, and they went from being the number one provider in the largest market share down, and they're gone. As for
Yeah.
all intents and purposes, gone.
Well, I want to shift gears and talk about your fishing. You know, you said your dad's the offshore fisherman. He taught you how to drive the boat when you were way too young to probably be doing it. And
7 years old,
yeah.
7. I was driving that boat.
And
Yeah.
let's tell me about some fishing stories and some, a little bit about that.
Well, my dad did a lot of offshore fishing, and I live in New Jersey, so off of
Yeah.
Ambrose Channel, and for those of you that know that area, but you know, uh, if you picture New Jersey going straight up and Long Island going like that, there's this little L there, and there's a ton of great fishing, striper fishing, blue fishing, big game fishing, tuna fishing, you name it. And there's an area out called the canyons, 60 to a
Yeah.
mile, 100 miles out, that you can go fishing there. So I did a lot of that growing up, a lot of trolling, which was cool. And I've, there's a lot you've got to know, and it relates a lot to business. You've got to know the depth of the water, when the fish like to run. When the tide is stagnant, the fish are stagnant. When the tide starts to move, the fish start to move. And so you've got to take a lot into account, and then depending on the fish that you're going for, some fish are ambush predators and they like to come to the surface and bite. Some dive deep, and so you have to have the right bait at the right speed, at the right depth, and at the right time, in order to catch the fish, and
Yeah.
then you're always learning something. So there I was with a buddy of mine off the coast of South Africa. He's on the back of his sailboat, and we're just sailing along 6 knots. He's like, "Hey, this is good trolling. Whether we're 11 miles off, that's where the continental shelf is. The tuna run up the coast." All right. So we put out one line, and I caught a yellowfin tuna. Came in the boat, nice size, great fish. Put it out there again. We get another bite, and I'm reeling it in. While I'm reeling it in, all of a sudden I feel a jerk on the line. My hand came off the reel, and the line just took off like nobody's business. And I was like, "Ooh," and I was, "Holy cow, what the heck was that?" And the guys are like, "You got a shark on the line." And
Yeah.
ripped it out of my hands. And I'm like, "Shark?" And just let it run. Don't even try. It's running now forever. And then it stops. And they're like, "All right, start reeling it in." I'm reeling it in. I said, "Hey guys, there's almost like no tension on the line." They go, "Reel faster. It's coming as a boat."
Yeah.
I'm reeling. And then all of a sudden I felt a tug, and it was gone. I felt it gone. And he's like, "Oh, the shark probably pulled the bait off, ripped it off."
Yeah.
And so these guys fish these waters all the time. So I reel it in, and sure enough, it was a bad day for this bait fish. It just had lines right. It was just ripped.
Oh, man.
And that was a really cool experience. And
Yeah.
the guy, but you know what? The fishermen knew those waters.
Yeah.
They knew right where to drop, how to drop, the whole bit. Once we got out to a certain depth, it was awesome.
It's funny when you were describing like what fish to go after and whenever, I was thinking the whole time, it's like, that's exactly how you described how to find your audience. Like, you're going after this, you're doing this. And so that's what I love about doing what I'm doing here is, like, when I interview these guys, there's so many parallels with your business and like these sort of things about patience or about knowing whatever your target is. Like, if we're going after, like you said, I love striper fishing. It's like, if I could only fish for one fish in the world, it would be stripers. And,
Yeah.
So if I'm targeting a striper versus something else, there's totally different bait, totally different presentation, totally different, everything comparatively. If I was going after bass, like just your regular,
Right. Yeah.
or even like tuna or something like that. So, I think that business and hunting and fishing, there's just so many parallels. If people could, and the more business owners that I interview that do these things, it's funny because sometimes they didn't even realize it. And they go, wait a minute, there is so much alike. If we just, put it in there, a good fisherman can, if they treated their business the way they treat their fishing, I've seen that too. I've seen some really excellent fishermen or hunters. And if they would just apply the same principles to their businesses, they would be so much more successful.
Yeah, there's so many different variables that have to come together in order to catch a fish, and it is similar in business. Now,
Yeah,
you could change one of the variables and still catch a fish, but you're not catching the fish you want.
exactly.
And the same thing in business. If I change my pricing or change my timing or change my hours of operation or my geography, yeah, I'll catch fish, but they're not the ones I want, and they're not the
Wow.
ones I can build a sustainable business on.
Yeah, exactly. And if we were going back to when we had to eat what we call, for to live, it's the same thing, and so now we're eating what we catch in business, so that's interesting. So when you said your son is a big freshwater fisherman and you still get out there every once in a while and do some fishing?
I still get out there. Yeah, still get out there, do some fishing, do some hunting. I did the dove hunt in Texas
Oh yeah,
a couple years ago. That was a blast. I really enjoyed
yeah.
that. That was really
Dove
cool.
hunting is probably one of the funnest ones because you can be social. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
a dozen of us out there. It was cool.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you should, you know, you'll hear more about this later, but in February, we're planning to go to Texas, but we're going to be hunting pigs out of a helicopter. You should go.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool. That sounds
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. Go to our page. I've got it up. But yeah, so they'll set you up in a helicopter. You get the guns and everything. They provide all the stuff, and you're locked in, so you can't fall out.
Sure. Sure.
But and they'll have these those pigs are invasive down there, so they want them gone as many, and you can't kill enough of them to get rid of them.
Yeah,
So
because they're destroying the crops and yeah.
yeah, they do. They're very destructive. So, but yeah, I mean, shooting a machine gun out of a helicopter sounds really cool to me. So,
Yeah,
we're gonna be
that's pretty
together.
cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's interesting. I love the fact that business owners that hunting and fishing is like it's just such a cool thing to get your head. That's what I use it for too. Is like, business owners, and I know you've coached so many business owners and been in business yourself, it's hard for us to find a way to get out of our head and to relax, sometimes. And those are some of the things that the only ways that I can actually, clear my mind or shut it down is to kind of put me in some of those situations. How important is it for you and your clients? Do you talk to them about their mental health and doing things to kind of get their, because I think that's a big thing in entrepreneurism. It's a tough business.
Yeah, it's we talk all the time about knowing your rhythms and blocking out the time that's important to you first. When you do
Yeah,
your annual planning, I like to set all the me time, family time, vacation time, get that in the calendar before the year starts.
really.
Because once it's in the calendar, you start thinking about it and you're anticipating.
You,
Like, you
my
know,
wife taught me this, not just mainly because she liked to go on vacations, but and is it didn't matter. Like you said, if I planned it out ahead of, like, my business didn't suffer. It never did, never suffered. you know
yeah,
now you do got to put some systems in play so that you can be gone for a week or two, without shutting the whole business down. And that was, but if you can plan ahead like that, you can still get to use that time for ball game. You got kids and ball games and different things, and so you're not, because I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was just an absentee father. He didn't want to be, but he was running a business. He was working 12, 13, 14 hours a day, and I get it. But I was like, you can't do that forever.
yeah.
Expect to keep a wife and a family.
Well, right. And I think people get tripped up on the idea or the concept of balance. Like, I need to balance. I need a certain amount of balance in my business, a certain about balance at home. And I don't know that that's even possible or you'd want it. You have to integrate your life more as an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
your kids understand your business and your family understands your business and are involved in it. Like you take them
Mm.
on a business trip now and again, you
Yep.
know, and when you come home, you know, you want to shut off from business, but you also want to talk about what you're doing so they understand, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
So whenever you can integrate and you can make it fun for them and learning for them, these are life skills that are hugely important for when they get out in the real world.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because the girl that works for me and runs my whole life, just about, her dad was a business owner. And when I hired her, interviewing her, that's how she grew up working in his business, and she actually thinks just like it's her business and treats it just like it's her business. And it's very hard to find that for an employee. But I think that's what I'm trying to instill in my kids, because even if they're an employee versus, and then they want to go run their own business, having that the treating their life and treating their job like that, it makes them a better employee, or better, like, I'm just so happy to have someone that thinks that way, because it's hard to find people that think like an entrepreneur that's in your business. you know
It's true. And look, entrepreneurship's not for everybody. So
no,
if
no.
you're, and it's hard enough when it is right for you.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean, an entrepreneur is only 1 in 15 people to start the conversation, you
yeah.
know, you
And
know.
the failure rate is massive. So
Yeah. So you're already in a smaller group, and it's hard yards.
yeah,
So now for those of us that love it, we love it because it's hard yards, but
yeah,
you got to love the hard yards, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think I could ever. I always tell them I'm unemployable. I could. I don't know how to do anything else. I
Right.
would be, and I know I'm a terrible employee. You know, um, I was when I was only an employee for a few years, but I was terrible at it. So, um, looking ahead and thinking about you and all that you've done over your career, if you could give yourself a piece of advice 30 years ago, what would you do? What would you tell yourself?
I would have done more. I would have thought a little bigger. And I think as big as I thought, there were some things I would have thought a little bit bigger. I would have I would have done more investing in outside of my business earlier. I do it a lot now, but I would have done it a lot more outside the business earlier, because I would have
Mhm.
used my business as a funnel to other opportunities.
Yeah,
So I would have not so much diversified my focus and attention. That's because I don't want to be in a whole bunch of other businesses, but
right.
I wanted to be invested in them. So I would have
Yeah,
done that more. I would have diversified my portfolio a little bit more.
got it, got it, got it. And if you were going to talk to, say a struggling entrepreneur that's in that under a million state, what would you tell them is the fastest way to get over that and get up to, a seven-figure business?
Fix your pricing.
Fix your
Start
price.
charging what you're worth. Start talking directly to those people and no one else. Your marketing's not for everybody. Stop trying to be everything to everybody and talk directly to that audience, that passionate client. And believe me, you can get to a million quickly when you're talking to the right message to the right people. You're going to find
Yeah,
your selling process is going to get a lot easier.
yeah. Doesn't really matter. Facebook, Google, blah, blah, blah,
Doesn't matter.
billboard. That is
You
the
have the
mess.
right offer. If you have the right offer, look, business is traffic and offer. That's it. Are you
Yeah.
talking to the right people? Are you saying the right things? That's it.
Before we get off here, I want to make sure that because this is something big that I read about you and read with you, is the obnoxious offer. So you just kind of brought that up. It's like, well, tell me
The
about that.
obnoxious offer. That's right.
Yeah.
So
Tell
the
me about.
obnoxious offer is being obnoxious in price, but it's being obnoxious in value. Meaning you're making it a no-brainer offer for them, or to the point where they're like, oh my God, you're speaking right to me. An obnoxious offer goes to the core sweet spot client for that product or service, speaks right to them. And when you do that and you
Yeah.
give them high value, one, they'll pay your premium price, but two, you will do such a good job with that core audience that you'll get the fringe audiences around.
Nice. Nice. Carl, every time we talk, I feel like I learn so much, and I appreciate you coming on here. Love the fishing stories. You got to come with us. We'll go fish, or we'll go shoot some pigs.
I
Um,
I love it.
Yeah. So, very good. Well, I really appreciate you having it on, guys. If you want to learn more about Carl, where can we find you at?
Go to my personal website, Carl360, CARL360.com. And that's where you'll find all things about me there.
Guys, if you want help in your business, this is the guy. He will take you to the next level. I know. Well, thanks again. This is Sam and Carl for the Hunt for Success. We will see you next time.
You've been listening to The Hunt for Success with Dr. Sam McGough. If this episode brought value to you, make sure you follow and subscribe so you never miss a conversation with the entrepreneurs and high performers building success on their own terms. For more episodes, resources, and insights on building wealth and designing freedom, visit thehuntforsuccess.com. Until next time, keep building, keep pursuing, and keep hunting for the life you want.